A recent Cloud Governance update saw the release of a brand new Cloud Governance Admin Center. In addition to the new Admin Center, we've also seen the release of a brand new service, which allows you to configure service requests for guest users. To access the new Admin Center, as well as the brand new service, log on to AvePoint Online Services, and on the homepage, click Cloud Governance. When you get into Cloud Governance, you'll notice right across the top, it tells you that we're building a brand new admin experience, and to view the new Admin Center, we can click here. In the new Admin Center, you will see a couple of quick links across the top to get to your My Hub settings, services, and your workspace report. You'll also see on the dashboard that we've got information about your site collection statuses, as well as any task statuses. It even shows us what recent activity has been performed in Cloud Governance, like for instance creating a brand new service for my users to consume from my service catalog. Over on the left, we see that all the functionality we're used to in Cloud Governance is not displayed. That's because as we transition into the new Cloud Governance Admin Center, functionality will slowly be added over here until eventually the original UI is retired. However, new features and functions released will appear here in the Cloud Governance Admin Center. The first of which is, over on the left under Management, we have Services and Guest Renewal Profiles. If I click Services, we can see that these are all the different services that are available to us through Cloud Governance, same as you would have in the previous UI. But up at the top, if I click Create, we'll see the only option here is Invite New Guest User. Please note, this particular service will not appear in the legacy Cloud Governance interface. The option for a guest renewal profile is something that will play into this particular service. The logic is this is a service where users can request new guest users, and if we want them to, they will have to renew those guest users periodically. The renewal will be based on the guest renewal profile and its schedule. So I'll actually start there. We go to Guest Renewal Profiles and we click Create. We start with giving it a name, optional description, selecting the tenant if you are connected to multiple Microsoft tenants, and then picking a category. Remember, the categories are just a way for you to keep track of your various services and other types of Cloud Governance objects. How often would you like them to have to renew? What's the time period that the approver has to complete the task? Who will be responsible for completing the task? Remember, in Cloud Governance, we can type a $sign to pull up these roles. And in this case, we're going to see a couple of new roles: Primary Guest Contact and Secondary Guest Contact. Now, these have not been defined for the service yet because we haven't created it. But I'll say the Primary Guest Contact. That's essentially the business user responsible for that guest. Scrolling down, some additional renewal options. Do you want to allow people to change the guest's permissions on renewal? Do you want to allow them to change the primary and secondary guest contacts on renewal? And if there's any custom metadata, would you like them to change that as well? Lastly, who's the administrative contact? You can see it's filling in the admin account for Cloud Governance automatically, which mod administrator we know is from a Microsoft demo tenant. And there are some built-in notification email templates that are selected. You can build your own email templates back in Cloud Governance Legacy UI. So let's select one of these renewal options since it is required. Maybe I will allow them to change the primary secondary guest contact. That way, if the person that they were originally working with is no longer responsible for that project or is no longer with the organization, we can pick someone else. Everything looks good, so down at the bottom I'll click Save. Now that we have the guest renewal profile, we can go over and click on and create the actual service itself. So if we go to Services and up at the top click Create, and then Invite New Guest User. You'll see there are 3 steps to the wizard. You're going to recognize a lot of these properties if you are familiar with creating services in Cloud Governance. First, name, description, language, and again, category. If we then scroll down a little bit, who can use this service? Allow all users is the default. but we can also set up conditions so that only certain people are allowed. As an example, if only members of your project team are allowed to request guest user access, well then we could add a condition that specifies that group. And who is going to be the administrative contact? Again, you can see it's filling in the tenant admin. I'll click Next. On step 2, what tenant will the guest user be added to? And here it is asking us for the primary contact. Again, if we type the $, we can get a few different roles. And I'm going to select Requester. So whoever is filling out this form will be the person who will be assigned as the contact. If you don't want the business users to potentially modify that field, you could show it to them as read-only, or you could hide it completely. Secondary contact is useful, but not necessary. And then down towards the bottom, allow requests to add guest users to groups or teams. You can see that slider is off as the default. If I flip that, the requester is the owner of the group or team. The requester is the primary or secondary contact of the group or team. Remember, the primary and secondary contact of the group or team is a cloud governance role. When a user requests a team, typically they get made as the contact. So that way all business-related processes for that team get assigned to them. Here's where I can pick the renewal profile if I created one, which we did. Down at the bottom, we click Next. The last step, do we have any custom metadata that we would like to add? What is the approval process? In Cloud Governance, we know that we can create approval processes to be assigned to any of our services. After you select one, if you click View Approval Process, it gives you information about who is assigned within that process. If I would like to string multiple approval processes together, we can do that with the Multiple Approval Process option. We can also allow approvers to edit requests. They would be able to change any of the things that the user is prompted for when filling out the service request. If we use that, do we want to notify the requester that it's been modified before approval? And if so, pick the appropriate email template. Lastly, like other services in Cloud Governance, we could have it run a custom action. Custom actions are things like scripts that are located on your network that you want it to run in some part of the service process. And this could appear at various spots during the process. If everything is set up the way that we want, we can now either save or save and activate. Save lets you keep everything you've done, but does not make the service available to the users yet. Maybe there's something else you need to come back later and edit. Save and activate will make that service available in the catalog for your users. This includes through MyHub. So I'm going to click on Save and Activate. We can now see our Request a New Guest User service. And if I pop over into AvePoint MyHub, I'm logged on as a business user. And I'm going to click on Start a Request. Here we have Lifecycle Management. Pause for it. Across the top are the different categories of services. You'll remember the one we just built. We put in the security category, and there it is. Thanks for watching this short video on accessing the Cloud Governance Admin Center and also creating a new guest user service.